Hello, good evening. It's time for News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Kanda. I am Portia Gabor.
And I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. These are the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Tonight, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu breaks her silence, saying she will not resign despite what she describes as bizarre proceedings to frustrate her to step down.
Meanwhile, government spokesperson Felix Ofosu-Kwakye claps back and says there's no political agenda to remove the Chief Justice.
And also coming up, growing concern among students and the general public following a resurgence of COVID-19 cases on the University of Ghana campus.
Coming up in business news, civil society organizations describe PURC's proposed 2.43% electricity tariff increase as unjustifiable as they warn against its implementation.
And on the international front, at least 8 people killed and more than 400 others injured in Kenya's anti-government protests. We're live around the world on 3news.com. That's our website. We're also streaming on Facebook, and we always love to hear your comments, so just keep them coming.
And our very first story, the suspended Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Gertrude Tokonu, has filed fresh court processes seeking a review of the Supreme Court's dismissal of her injunction application seeking to halt ongoing processes to remove her from office. She announced the decision while breaking her silence for the first time, insisting she will not resign from her position as Chief Justice. A report by Mawena Edbeta.
An emotional 1 hour as suspended Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Gertrude Tokonu, mounted this podium to address Ghanaians over ongoing processes she is a part of under Article 146 seeking her removal. She would cite 4 reasons as basis for her decision to come public. The first, the historic nature of the process. The second, that she was doing this because the ripple effect from the course of action currently being taken will affect not just herself, but justices of the Supreme Court and all other heads of constitutionally mandated bodies. The third, that there are violations currently being experienced even as that 5-member committee continues its hearing. The last, questions and concerns raised as to why she would not resign.
Let me assure everybody that I am not seeking to cling to a title or a position. The situation I have been confronted with has shown me a model of injustice that I would never have thought possible if I had not been exposed to it. Resigning or retiring while Article 146 proceedings are being conducted to remove a judge is not an option any judge or public official can even have.
In this emotional address to Ghanaians, Gertrude Tokonu will take time to detail the petitions and explain why she believes they hold no merit and why she also argues they must be opened up to the public for them to be carried along to know indeed they hold no merit.
I cannot share the burden of those involved in designing and implementing this enterprise of pretending to use Article 146 proceedings to remove a Chief Justice through unknown and unlawful means by keeping quiet about the violations of law and due process. Neither can I make anyone's burden lighter by resigning or retiring, instead of proving that not even one of these wild claims in a collection of petitions is even remotely true or meets the standard required for removing a judge.
Upon that basis, she's instructed her lawyers to file processes for a review of the decision by the Supreme Court to set aside or throw out her injunction application seeking to halt the ongoing processes by that 5-member committee.
It is this total absence of compliance with all known rules of fair hearing that has caused my lawyers to file application for judicial review in the High Court to declare all the proceedings void.
She makes the argument, lastly, that the choice of location, Edu Lodge, amongst many other things, reaffirms her belief that all of the processes currently ongoing is deliberate to break her and to see to her removal as Chief Justice.
The Edu Lodge facility that the hearings are being conducted in featured very prominently in the planning of the murder of judges on June 30th, 1981. And this can be read about in the special investigative report on that terrible event in our nation's history. It will be recalled that there was a Major Samakwa, a military officer who was killed with the 3 High Court justices, who was the director of human resource of GEHOC. He was my uncle and my guardian when I entered the University of Ghana in September 1980. I was also living with him at the time he was abducted and murdered. Was Edu Lodge chosen for my inquiry to make me feel insecure? I think so.
Mawina Igbeta, TV3 News, The Palms by Eagle.
Right, so this has generated quite some conversation, and let's speak to Christian Mamhesi, who is a private legal practitioner, on what he makes of the Chief Justice's issues that she raised at the press house, which is the first time that she has publicly spoken after this whole issue started, especially when it had to do with the petitions to the president. Mr. Mamhesi, good evening. Thank you for joining us on TV3.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Would you say the Chief Justice has breached any legal or constitutional matters, especially coming on the back of the fact that for the first time she decided to speak to the media, although the case is still on trial or still within the remit of the 5-member committee?
Basically, I could best describe it as it was bridled with a lot of emotions, and she's a human being just like all of us, and anybody being held through such a procedure will not be smiling around. So yes, it was about an hour or so of emotional submission. Now, she raises issues of procedural lapses. She also raises issues of natural justice. Now, some of these things are not new to us because she had raised them at the Supreme Court, especially in her supplementary affidavit, which the court struck out. Now, she mentions some of these things. However, she has further filed for review so that the court would look at it. And the court is going to look at whether there are exceptional circumstances. That is the only ground that the court will look at in granting the review. If the court has not found merit that there are exceptional grounds, then the court will dismiss that. That said, she mentions issues about political enterprise and all of this. This is more of conjecturing because evidence is what matters. But like I mentioned, she's going through a lot, and emotions definitely has arisen itself, so it's understandable. And also, what best I see would come out of this is that, given all the things she's raised, particularly citing procedural things, so whether relevant or not, and also natural justice, at the end of the hearing, should there be any adverse decision against her, which probably the president acts on it, we are going to have her come up with what I might say would be her last bullet, which would be a shot from a Russian roulette. And that would be, she would file a prerogative writ of certiorari and cite all of these procedural lapses and natural justice concerns that have become a beast of burden on her heart, for the court to have the final attempt to deal with the matter should it go against her. So that would be a final bullet, like I said, in a Russian roulette show. So
is that what you are assuming?
But come again, please.
Yes, I'm asking if that is what you are assuming she might. That's probably one of the cards she might play if, yes, like you're indicating, it doesn't go in her favor.
That would be a major card to play, especially when there is an adverse decision against her. And already these are matters that she had already raised, and they were contained in her supplementary affidavit, if you will recall, that the Supreme Court struck out when she filed the injunction. You see, so these things are still inherent in her current submission she made before the general public. That tells you that she is still not okay, that those matters are still lingering, that those matters have not been abated with, but that they are lingering on. And when they linger on, and it happens that there's an adverse decision against her, which obviously it would be for the president to either, based on the recommendations, adopt them. And if the president adopts them, it means that the Chief Justice would have been dismissed. You get it? And if that happens, then her only option, given the trajectory of procedural lapses that she keeps talking about, natural justice that she keeps talking about, will be for her to use that last option, right, of a certiorari, because the grounds for certiorari is 3 elements. You have to cite natural justice, procedural lapses, or lack of jurisdiction. In this case, lack of jurisdiction will not come in because they are
can she
at 146.
Counsel, can she at this moment go back to court? Because like you're indicating, the earlier cases she filed at the court, which were dismissed, she feels strongly about those cases. Could she appeal and keep going back to the court while this 5-member committee set up by the president is still undertaking its investigations and proceedings?
Yes, that's why she filed the review, as you mentioned. I am hearing it for the first time. And like I said, the review, the court will constitute the panel to hear her review. And the merit that the for is that, is there the merit, the merit that the court will be looking out for in her review would be whether there are exceptional circumstances. That is, was the law applied? Did it cause miscarriage? Was it bereft of the substantive law applicable, or that was applied to her case? And if the court does not find any apparent miscarriage of justice on the face of the judgment, the court will throw her application for review out. So let's see what comes of from the Supreme Court in that regard. But what I'm saying is that, given the hindsight that she still hinges on these things, That would be, Seturara would be the last option.
Right.
She would try and hit out against the committee's decision. Should there be an adverse decision against it? And that's why I say it will be the Russian roulette, the last bullet in the gun.
It's interesting you raise issues of Russia and bullets, considering the current global issues. Well, thank you very much, Christian Mamhesi, who is a private legal practitioner. So for many of you who probably are unaware of what the Chief Justice said at her press, I will take you briefly through some of the highlights of her presentation. So it starts with the issue of she talking about the historic and precedent-setting moment where she touches on the fact that for the first time in Ghana's history, a Chief Justice is being subjected to removal, and she's being given the opportunity as well to be heard and her version of the story put out in public. Again, the Chief Justice expressed concern that the process is breaking established rules of justice and is setting a dangerous precedent for the democracy of the country, where she also indicated that the fight she is fighting is not just for her, but again, for future Chief Justices and current members of the Superior Court, etc. Again, she touches on the irregularities and violations of the trial process, where she says that although she took the matter to the Supreme Court, but her request for public hearing was also not heard. She's been asking time and again that she wants the public to follow the proceedings, but you know that the Constitution clearly states that such processes should be in private or in camera, as the lawyers will say. Again, irregularities and violations in the process. One, she talks about she being denied access to the petitions and the petitioners, and that they are not being allowed to testify when she is present. There has been a denial of her family to be present during the proceedings. She was searched, she was body searched, which she raised concerns with. Also, the use of historical, traumatic, and intimidating location, which is the Edu Lodge. She associated that with an uncle who some years ago was killed, and she felt that that in itself, going into that premises, was an affront to her personal rights and brought bad memories to mind. And again, petitions admitted without the petitioners themselves being present to testify, she thought that again was an affront to the law. So a number of issues she raised at that presser, and if you go to our website 3news.com, you'll definitely get more details of that and more.
Meanwhile, government has vehemently denied any grand scheme to oust the embattled Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. Spokesperson of Government Communication Felix Kwacho-Fosu insists that President Mahama has followed due process as stipulated in Article 146 of the Constitution.
Into the press conference in the company of the husband with no legal representation, she was clear in her mind government was out to get her ousted. Resolved, she rejects suggestions to resign or give up in her fight. At a press briefing, government spokesperson Felix Kwacho-Fosu said there's been no breach of the Constitution in the procedure so far and described the Chief Justice's allegations as unfounded.
Every single public official, from the President to the Speaker to the Chief Justice to Supreme Court judges to ministers to all public office holders, are bound by the provisions of Ghanaian law. Indeed, it was the former Australian Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, who once said that when you join the game, you play by the rules. So no public official is allowed to raise him or herself above the laws of Ghana. It does not matter how sensitive your position is. Once Ghanaian law dictates that certain processes be undertaken in respect of some alleged misconduct, the rules must come to play.
The embattled Chief Justice emotionally recalled the killing of some state justices at the venue of her inquiry. Government defended the location, maintaining its compliance to secrecy and constitutional mandate.
That the attempts to link dastardly killings of some Supreme Court judges and a military officer to this case are most disingenuous. It's regrettable and should not find space in this sort of discourse. The committee requested that they needed facilities of a certain status that could house their activities and that could facilitate a smooth running of the proceedings. And that facility was available. It is equipped with modern amenities that will facilitate the work of the committee.
The Chief Justice has served notice of a judicial review. Government welcomes the move.
She is entitled to do so, and we encourage her to avail herself of any opportunity there is to vindicate her rights.
Let's move on to other stories this evening, and there is growing concern among students and the general public following a resurgence of COVID-19 cases at the University of Ghana campus. The university's Health Service Directorate has confirmed several suspected and confirmed cases, prompting calls for urgent containment. While health authorities are urging calm, they also advise strict adherence to safety protocols. Deborah Abamenta has more on this report.
It's back in the headlines, COVID-19, and this time the spotlight is on Ghana's premier university. On the campus of the University of Ghana, worry is creeping in. Students and the public are raising red flags over what they describe as a concerning resurgence of the coronavirus, with confirmed and suspected cases reported in recent days.
I hope it's nothing serious. I hope they can get it solved quick because I don't want to go back into quarantine.
When COVID came, you see how we were restricted on certain activities and the other hand. So that is my only concern right now. So the issue is that if it comes out that what they are saying is very true and it is rampant on campus, all activities are going to be held, like put on hold and other stuff.
We don't know what to do currently. We are just hoping to see how things are going to be done about it. Yes, that's what we say.
The Health Services Directorate of the university has issued a statement confirming the resurgence. In response, university authorities are urging all students, staff and visitors to remain vigilant and strictly observe preventive measures including regular hand washing, mask wearing in crowded spaces and avoiding unnecessary gatherings. In the meantime, all communication regarding the situation has been directed to the Greater Accra Regional Health Directorate. Meanwhile, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health is asking the public not to panic. The committee says the situation does not yet warrant alarm, but advises citizens to return to basic COVID-19 safety practices.
I'm not surprised at all at it. I don't think COVID ever left. COVID is with us. COVID became, many people got used to it. What was circulating were mild forms and therefore perhaps was not having any clinical effects. But remember, there's still that section of the population that is at risk. Rather than panicking and being afraid, we should know that we beat it with some protocols. And if we adhere to the same protocols, whenever it comes up, we will beat it again.
The university community is hoping for swift action and transparency to prevent a potential outbreak. For many, the fear is not just about health, it's about the possible disruption to academic life.
I'm really concerned because Corona coming back again, it's like, wow, are we also going to get infected? What is the school doing about it? Are the people quarantined or something? Yeah, I've been thinking about it lately actually. And I just hope that they are putting in measures that will help us.
We are afraid of lockdown. We just came to level 100 and when lockdown comes, we are going to stay back home and we won't get anything to learn. That's why we are concerned about it. So the institution needs to do something about it.
For now, the University of Ghana remains open, but how it responds to this resurgence may determine whether classrooms will remain active or not.
In more news tonight, Chairman of Parliament Committee on Human Rights, Ernest Yawenim, says until there is a law criminalizing the acts of gayism and lesbianism, it will be difficult to punish perpetrators of such acts. In an interview with Evelyn Tinna regarding viral pictures of two foreigners who were seen kissing at the Black Star Square in Accra, the committee chairman says both human rights and the culture of the country would have to be respected.
Two foreign nationals of same sex had posted on social media photos of themselves kissing beneath the Independence Arch in Accra. The act received backlash from most Ghanaians on social media. Chairman of the Human Rights Committee of Parliament spoke to us on the matter.
In as much as our culture infringes on some of these things, but we look at it from the human rights perspective, and you say that is this something that should be criminalized? Is it something that we should look at it with a humane face? So these are issues as a committee we are dealing with it. You know, as a Ghanaian, our culture frowns also on certain acts. So we need to find a balance. As Ghanaians, we also need to respect the culture and respect the Constitution. What does the Constitution say about this? That is something we need to look into. Now the Constitution is undergoing a review, and I believe that most of these issues will be taken care of. And once the Constitution is clear on what punishment to mete out for such behaviors, then we can look into it.
The 8th Parliament passed the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, also known as the Anti-LGBTQ+ Bill, but was not assented to by President Akufo-Addo at the time.
We are aware that it's coming back again, and that's something as a committee we'll also look into, go into the details of the bill and see where we can balance things. We can balance the human rights perspective of it and look at the cultural aspect of it too as well. Once Parliament passes again and the government assents to it, it becomes a law. And once you go against it, the law should deal with you as it is. But as it stands now, we don't have a definite law that criminalizes these behaviors.
Still watching News 360 on TV3 now. King Mswati III of Eswatini has emphasized the importance of African nations preserving their cultural heritage, stating that traditions define identity and roots. Speaking at the National House of Chiefs in Kumasi, the monarch highlighted how traditional and modernity can coexist to drive progress.
As part of his 5-day visit to Ghana, King Mswati III is in the Ashanti region to reinforce the historic bond between Eswatini and the Asante Kingdom. Before a private meeting with the Asantini, Otumfuo Osei II, he engaged with the National House of Chiefs on traditional governance and Pan-African unity.
Long before colonial boundaries divided us, African kings, chiefs, and traditional leadership governed with wisdom, ensuring order, justice, and preservation of our cultures. As Eswatini advances, we have harmonized tradition with modernity by preserving our cultural practices through national ceremonies that celebrate our identity.
He tasked African traditional leaders to be innovative and collaborate to safeguard their heritage for future generations.
While we honor our past, we must also scrutinize our traditions with discernment. We need to preserve those that define our unique identities and continue to serve our societies well.
Of the National House of Chiefs, II echoed the sentiments while expressing concern over the removal of history from Ghana's educational curriculum.
Unfortunately, some of us here are teachers, and right now, if you go to the curriculum, history has been struck out from the curriculum. So our children don't know where they are coming from. And it is part of our duty, our responsibility, to draw government's attention, especially the Ministry of Education, to reintroduce history. Let us know our history, our background.
The Minister for Local Governance, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, reaffirmed government commitment to safeguarding the chieftaincy institution.
The ongoing review of the Chieftaincy Act 2008, Act 759, aims to strengthen dispute resolution mechanisms, improve accountability, and further integrate traditional authority into our decentralized local governance system.
As anticipation builds for the royal dialogue between King Mswati III and the Asantehene, Residents of Kumasi are hopeful for enhanced cultural and economic partnerships between the two kingdoms.
You're still watching News 360 on TV3. We're taking a quick break. We'll be back with business, sports and entertainment. Do stay with us.
Hello again. News just coming in indicates that Parliament has passed the Public Holidays and Commemorative Days Amendment Bill 2025 to make changes in the country's statutory public holidays. As part of the new law, July 1 will become a public holiday to be observed as Republic Day. Government has also removed August 4 from the holiday schedule and now renamed the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day as Founders Day to be celebrated on September 21. In a bid to fulfill their campaign promise, the NDC has added an extra holiday for Muslims named as Shak Day, and this holiday will be celebrated a day after Eid al-Fitr. So Parliament has passed the Public Holidays and Commemorative Days Amendment Bill 2025 to make changes in the country's statutory public holidays. It's now time for business news.
The business segment is brought to you by MTN. Touch concentrated perfume.
And hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Now, civil society organizations, CATS International Accra and the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSE, have called on Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, to halt the 2.43% electricity tariff increase. The group stressed that the adjustment violates fair electricity pricing and condemned the PURC for its lack of transparency in the decision, which takes effect July 1, 2025.
Consumers had expected a significant reduction in electricity tariffs due to the appreciation of the Ghana cedi against the dollar and declining inflation, which are key determinants of end-user tariffs. Instead, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, announced a 2.43% increase in electricity tariffs, introducing new end-user tariff determinants, contrary to expectations of a reduction in the third quarter of 2025. According to the group, the PURC failed to engage stakeholders before introducing fuel cost and reserve margins into the tariff decision, stressing the frequent upward tariff adjustments could lead to the creation of an inefficient energy sector. They urged the regulator to rather focus on addressing systemic issues like the commercial and technical losses that have bedeviled the electricity sector.
We think that the cedi has seen over 30% appreciation compared to the last quarter tariff decision. And for that matter, there have been certain windfalls that government has accrued throughout the second and first quarter of 2025. And we believe that this windfall should have been used to offset certain areas and also procure fuel. And we're not expecting any price adjustment in the third quarter of 2025. So we are surprised by this.
Meanwhile, Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Energy Committee, Collins Adoma-Komenta, has expressed disappointment over the anticipated increase in electricity tariffs. He argued that the decision lacks justification, especially in light of recent macroeconomic gains, and warned that it could further burden ordinary Ghanaians.
I'm very sad. When the dollar was performing quite well, it came down to 10%, 10 cedis per dollar. My expectation was that this will lead to a decrease, at least for the third quarter, in the tariffs on electricity. So reading this morning about an increment is quite shocking to me. And then when I read the report, I also realized for the first time they have included the cost of fuel as part of the tariff calculations, which used not to be the case, because we were told that the 1 Ghana cedi will be used to purchase fuel. I'm not too sure how that is going to play out, whether the 1 Ghana cedi is going to be an additional burden on the Ghanaian people. But naturally, I'm not happy about it. My gut feeling was that because the cedi had been performed quite well, it will lead to a reduction in tariffs.
Now, in a commendable move towards environmental sustainability, Johnny Walker has stepped up their commitment to fighting climate change. To celebrate Ghana's 65th anniversary, the company planted 6,500 trees, one for each year of impact.
In response to climate challenges, Johnny Walker and the Forestry Commission are driving a tree planting campaign to cut emission and boost climate resilience. Over 2,000 trees have been planted since 2023 under the Stepping Out of the Box campaign, with regular care to ensure survival. Managing Director Felicite Insong reaffirmed their dedication to sustainability.
Our partnership with the Forestry Commission began in 2023, and today, under the inspiring theme Tree for Life, and as Guinness Ghana celebrates 65 years of progress but also 65 years of boldness, we are scaling up the ambition with a new target to plant 6,500 trees. This reflects our continued drive to reduce carbon emissions, restore biodiversity, and build climate resilience, all aligned with our global sustainability agenda. Each one of the 6,500 trees is a reflection of our ongoing commitment to sustainability, resilience, and shared prosperity.
Manager for Plantation Investment at the Forestry Commission, Kwame J, spoke on the long-term legacy being built.
Every tree planted is an opportunity for us to push back on agents that are destroying our forests. In addition, we hope that if they are planting 6,500 trees because they are celebrating 65 years, the next year they will plant 6,600 trees.
For the environment and future generation, this is visible progress rooted in purpose.
We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next, the sports.
Here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. We're just about 10 days before the start of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco. The Black Queens claimed their second friendly victory in as many games with a resounding 4-2 win over Benin in Morocco on Wednesday. The win means that Ghana now have won 2 of their last 3 games after previously picking up just a single win in their last 5. My colleague Akosia J watched a game and put together this report.
Women's African Cup of Nations 2024 draws nigh. The Black Queens of Ghana seem to be gaining momentum game by game ahead of the tournament. The team set up 3 international friendlies in Morocco ahead of the tournament. They have already played against Malawi with a scoreline of 3-1, where Doris Bwedua scored a hat-trick in that game. Today, the team played against Benin, and they were able to score 4 goals in that particular game. But what stands out in this game is the fact that the Black Queens were able to come back from a goal down. After scoring the first goal, Benin leveled, then Benin took the lead. They had to come from a goal down to level and then score 2 more goals. In this particular game, the Black Queens had 4 different scorers, which is very good. Nina, Susan, Alice, and Chantel all scored in this particular game, with Chantel getting her debut goal for the Black Queens. Now, on the 29th of June, the Black Queens will be playing against Nigeria, which is very, very crucial, especially for their opener in the WAFCON against South Africa. So for now, the coach seemed to have brought the team back onto winning ways, and would hope that the team keep up this momentum ahead of the tournament when they participate in Group C alongside South Africa, Tanzania, and Mali.
So to some more stories where Theophilus Daniel Asiedu signed for FC Basel in early 2025, a year after suffering a serious knee injury which almost brought an abrupt end to his career. Now with a second chance, the defender looks to take it with both arms as he trains with Basel first team this pre-season. Billy Shen tells the story of the defender.
Theophilus Daniel Asiedu saw his world come crashing down in January 2024. He had trialed with Swiss side FC Basel from Brecum, Chelsea, and was set to sign a contract. After going through his medical, the devastating news came. The medical team discovered the 20-year-old had an old cruciate ligament tear in his knee from his stint with Cheetah FC. The defender realized his career in football was hanging by a thread. It was a challenging period for Asiedu, who recounts crying non-stop at his designated apartment in Switzerland after speaking with his manager.
I was crying. I called my mom and I told her, oh, this is what happened, my brother and everything. And they were advising me to calm down. It's just part of life.
Asiedu's first few months in Ghana were challenging. He went back to Brecum to live with his family. Without the opportunity to play football, and with the inhabitants of the community constantly mocking him, the young man's confidence was at an all-time low. But a call from his manager one day gave him a glimmer of hope. He was asked to return to Basel, where he underwent surgery and went through a stringent rehabilitation program.
On the 13th of May, which is last year, that was the day I did my surgery. So after, it was difficult because it took me for like 2 weeks. I can't sleep because they stopped giving me like painkillers, sleeping tablet and everything. It was difficult, but everything is mentality. And the doctor told me I'm going to spend like 1 year at home without training, just rehabilitation. But through grace, God granted me and everything. It's been like 7 months I was on the field.
In February 2025, Asiedu signed a 1.5-year deal with an option of a further 3 years at Basel. That moment represented triumph and another chance for a man who was about to lose his livelihood. He began training with the second team, making his debut on February 22 and has recorded 10 appearances in the promotion league. This summer, he will join the first team on a pre-season camp and has set his sights on competing side by side with fellow countryman Jonathan Jete.
I told him that. I told him, hey guy, you're gonna play together. You play at the right side, I play at the left side together. one day he said, okay. So I will be very happy to play with him. He's very strong, fast, and he's a great defender. So he teach me a lot.
Now, as Asiedu prepares for pre-season with Basel's first team, every minute on the pitch is a testament to his resilience. He may have missed his first chance through no fault of his own, but his second shot is one he's determined to seize with both hands.
You can get some more sports updates on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Oriku Ampofo, and up next on the bulletin is entertainment with Noela Donko.
News segment is brought to you by GTP Lifestyle and Napa Foods, Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil, powered by 3 Entertainment.
Well, good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noela Donko. Now, auditions for Ghana's Most Beautiful 2025, the nation's most prestigious culture and beauty pageant, are officially underway. Now, dozens of hopeful young women gathered at the Micklin Hotel in Kumasi to compete for a spot in this year's competition. The auditions will end on Friday, 27th June 2025.
The audition train for this year's Ghana's Most Beautiful made its first stop in Kumasi, where hopefuls from the northern, northeast, savannah, upper east and upper west regions were screened.
For me, I am looking out for a lady who is well versed in social economic issues, a lady who is emotionally intelligent, a lady who is confident, a lady who is intellectually astute, and can also contribute to intellectual discourse. That to me is what I'm looking for.
One by one, the aspiring queens entered the audition room to prove they had what it takes to represent their regions on the national stage.
There with the judges, I would say it was a potpourri of emotions for me, but fingers crossed, I'm hoping that I'll get selected.
Well, the experience was great. The judges were very friendly. They asked me questions about myself, my region, and any social issues. Yeah.
So do you believe in yourself that you qualify to Accra?
Definitely. I believe that this year, hopefully, I represent the Bunu region.
After a rigorous selection process, 20 ladies were chosen to represent the northern sector in this year's pageants. The final round of auditions for the southeastern sector will be held at the TV3 forecourt on Friday, June 27th at 8 a.m.
Made of gold, black and bold, Ghana's most beautiful, African.
And now to some more stories. Sean Diddy Combs' legal team rested their case on Tuesday, June 24, after a brief 20-minute presentation following nearly 7 weeks of prosecution testimony in his federal sex trafficking trial. Combs, who has pleaded not guilty to charges including sex trafficking and racketeering, chose not to testify. His lawyers argued the government failed to prove its case and requested that the charges be dropped. The prosecution had called over 30 witnesses, alleging Combs used his fame to run a criminal enterprise that coerced women into sex acts through drugs and violence. Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
And that's it for the bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. If you go to our website, 3news.com, you get more stories, including what we brought to you this evening.
My name is Portia Gabor. Do join Alfredo Cancer at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight. Good evening.